Yo guys, what's going on? LuckyRave is back again to give you guys my live stream discussion slash review on Fairy Tale 100 Years Quest chapter 169. And oh my god, I've been waiting on this chapter for ages now, okay? I'm wondering by ages. Pretty much since when 168 came out, right? And I know I did the stream on that just a few days ago. And, reading this chapter left me with a couple things that I'm honestly glad I didn't do the stream yesterday. Like I thought I was going to. But also, this was a tough battle for me to decide on because I know the latest 100 Years Quest episode, 13, I think, right? We're on 13. I believe it should be 13. Yeah. So episode 13 of Hunter's Quest just came out this Sunday, and originally, because I knew I was gonna have a little more time today, I thought, okay, when I'm done with work, I'm gonna come here and I'm gonna talk about the episode. But then I thought more and more about this chapter, and I'm like, I have to talk about this chapter first. Talking about this chapter for 100 Years Quest, like I said, is a huge precedence. Okay, it's a huge precedence for me because it's something we've all been looking forward to for a long time. We've all been waiting for this moment pretty much since the Alvarez arc. We've all been waiting for it. And what are my thoughts on that? Something we're going to dive into. But for anybody curious about when I'm going to be doing the live stream discussion for the anime, that's probably going to be anywhere between Friday and Saturday. One of those 2 days is probably when I'm going to be doing a discussion for the anime. And plus, it kind of works too because I don't know if you guys have heard the news, but apparently episode 14 is not dropping this Sunday. Instead, we're getting a recap episode, which is called Lucy's Diaries, and I'm going to assume it's going to be just her retelling the events of what's unfolded from like episode 1 to episode 13. One of those it's one of those cases where you hit the midpoint of the season, and then for that midpoint, you kind of get like a retelling of what's happened, right? Which personally doesn't bother me too much, but it does kind of tell me, okay, there's probably not a lot for me to just say, okay, got to talk about it. But we'll see. Like, I'll check out the recap episode. I'll see how it is. I don't think it's going to be anything special. But needless to say, before I jump into the actual chapter, the anime discussion for episode 13, that'll probably be either Friday or Saturday. One of those 2 days. That being said, though, let's dive into 169, okay? Let's just dive right into the nitty gritty because, whew, this is a chapter. Definitely, without a doubt, 100%. This is a chapter. So, what exactly transpired? That's the first question. Well, I already alluded to it. The first, 169 is titled Linked by Water, which is saying so much. Like, knowing that as the chapter title, there's kind of a double meaning behind it. Because you see it as like, okay, it's going to be a conversation of sorts between Aquarius, Brandish, and Lucy. That's the first impression you get. But then there's a double meaning on top of that. There's something else. And that's what we'll dive into here. But you get this nice, amazing cover page of Natsu wearing a headband like he's a freaking ninja. Saying he's all fired up, happy, he's like super fired up too. Looks amazing. Anyway, now we get to the actual content of the chapter itself. And you see Aquarius' gate key. You see Lucy, see Brandish, all looking very serious in one another because they both know what this means. One of them, they both said they were both going to be having a contest to see who gets the key. So now we're at this moment. Who's gonna get the key? And then the Water Dragon God, Norwegian Merc over here says Aquarius. And that catches both of them off guard. Like, Brandish is like, huh? And Lucy says, like, Aquarius? And, as soon as Norwegian says this, I'm like, okay, that actually makes sense. Because he says, well, I am the dragon that governs water. And you see what happens. The gate key glows, and Aquarius emerges. And that's obviously the thumbnail of my stream because I think that embodies so much. Like the way Lucy's reacting, the way Brandish is reacting, that's pretty much like how a lot of us are feeling about this moment. Just being like, yes, finally, we finally have the moment take place. Like Lucy's so in awe, Brandish is so in awe. They're both like, Aquarius. And right off the okay, right off the gate, it's like we never left. Okay, it's like we never freaking left from what happened at the end of Tartarus to the conversation Lucy and Brandish. I said Lucy and Brandish. The conversation Lucy and Aquarius had during Alvarez. It's like we never changed. It's like it was only yesterday. It's like, like the classic glare Aquarius always gives Lucy. It's like, okay, like you would think, Aquarius is gonna get all teary eyed, but instead of Aquarius is like, you took your sweet time finding me, and Lucy's like, I'm sorry. Then she looks at Brandish and she says, and you be a dog for me for now. And Brandish does the same thing. She's like, yes, ma'am. Arf, arf. It's classic. Love it. And then Norwegian over here says, I see you're still as boisterous as ever. And Caramel runs over. Like, I love the way how Ueda has drawn Caramel on this panel because you can kind of get the impression of like, yo, Water Dragon God, who is the? She's like, who is this woman? Almost like she's like, hey, yo, I thought we were a thing. Who's she? And I mean, obviously that's not. You could just say she's thrown off, obviously, but I mean, for all the Merc, caramel, the Norwegian caramel shippers out there, that's one of the things where it's like, oh, we're gonna lean into that category. That's one interpretation, but we cut over to Aquarius, and Aquarius is just like, oh, if it isn't Mercphobia. And Mercphobia just says, hey. And dude, even the way Caramel like has her glasses on, she's like, oh, she better not be coming after him. He's mine. Like the glasses look at everything. Lucy goes on to say, they know each other? Brandish just says arf. And I knew this was coming. I already had a good feeling based on how the events were unfolding with this current volume, right? Because for those of you that don't know, 100 Years Quest, I believe there's 18 chapters, 18 volumes out at the moment. Volume 18 covers up until chapter 162. So where we are right now, from 163 onwards, has been volume 19. Okay? That's what we've been on. We're on volume 19 right now. So given that it's been 7 chapters, and like I said, 162 was the end of volume 18. 163 starts volume 19. There are only 2 chapters left before we conclude Volume 19. So, probably, yeah. So, by the end of October, it's funny I'm saying it like that. But yeah, by the end of October, so but let's say October 29th, this volume's gonna wrap up. We're gonna be done with Volume 19, which I'm a little curious about. I really am. And I'm saying this because we don't follow up on this. Like the only thing we get is Lucy saying they know each other. We don't cut back to them after this, which I was like, yo, that that is classic hero, okay? And I'm saying this as someone who's read Rave Master, the original fairy tale, Eden Zero, okay? I've read through all 3 of them. This does not surprise me, okay? This is classic hero. And I'm not shocked by it whatsoever. I knew it was coming. Now, what would I have liked if we had gotten more? Like, let's say, like half of the chapter still focused on what we're about to dive into. Obviously, yes. But then I looked at it the other direction, and I thought, well, okay. So we got a good, like, let's say 20% of the chapter was this, right? And I thought, well, there's 2 chapters left before Volume 19 ends. I think we're going to get a little bit more of a follow-up. Either with chapter 170 or 171. One of the two chapters for that's going to conclude Volume 19. I think we're going to get some more stuff between, this whole revelation of Aquarius and Suijin knowing each other. I mean, you know how funny it is? Because I've seen this conversation going on too. Of like, yo, could they have possibly been an item? Like, think about this in context. Imagine Aquarius and Suijin were actually a pair before she got with Scorpio. Like, just imagine that. Now, do I think that's the case 100%? Obviously, no. I don't think that's going to be the case. But the fact that they know each other, I mean, I'm with Lucy on this. The fact that both of them know each other has me kind of like, so what's their story? That's what I'm super curious about. And like I said, personally, I would have liked if we gotten a little bit more, like go halfway into the chapter and actually delve into it. But I know Hero did that on purpose. I know he did that specifically on purpose. And I do think we're going to unveil the curtain slowly, either within chapter 170 or 171. One of the 2 chapters is going to give us something, okay? We're going to get those answers. And like I said, especially if you've read Rave Master, the original fairy tale manga, Eden Zero, you know Hero with his writing style, okay? Like, this isn't anything new. So, I mean, it is what it is. But who do we cut back to? That's the question. Because if we focused on something like super irrelevant, I would have been like, yeesh. But instead, we focused on Natsu. And I'm okay with this. Because Natsu is cool. Okay? Now, and I've always said this in the past. Haru's my boy. Okay? I love Haru from Rave Master. And I love Shiki so much. But 100 Years Quest, and let me be specific when I say this. When it came to the original fairy tale story, I always liked Natsu as a character. But I do feel like compared to Haru, he was lacking something. But 100 Years Quest, in my opinion, has really turned that around for Natsu. It's really turned that around for Natsu in a lot of ways. To where you see where Natsu's progressing as a character. And because like before Natsu would be like all gung-ho and be like, yo, let's go in for the fight. But now throughout 100 Years Quest, and again, this is more so because of me revisiting the content again, like the early stuff with the anime. There's a lot that happens with Natsu with the 100 Years Quest, and it's subtle. The growth Natsu goes through is super subtle. Like, he still kind of still maintain who he is as a character, but there are like these subtle changes throughout 100 Years Quest that kind of showcases. No, he's developing, and I think that's great. Now, again, for someone that likes Nalu, our boy still has a lot to go through before he's able to say anything to Lucy. Like I know that's a big thing everyone's waiting for. Like, yo, Natsu, confess to your girl. Like, get to a point where you recognize, yo, I like Lucy more than a friend. Everyone's waiting for that, okay? Obviously, I've been waiting for that. But consider this, guys. We now live in an age. I mean, Haru and Ellie obviously was a given that Rave Master came before Fairy Tail. That's a given. But now we live in a world where Shiki and Rebecca from Eden Zero became canon before Nali. That is crazy. Like, think about that. Now we have two main ships that are canon with two separate Hiro Mashima stories. Both became canon, okay? Again, Haru and Ellie I can excuse because they were like, the OGs. But Shiki and Rebecca, which I love them, okay? They're the heart and soul of Eden Zero. But to still say that they became canon before Nalu? That makes me curious. Like, honestly speaking, that makes me super, super curious. Like, what is going to be the moment? Like, the nail in the coffin for Nalu becoming canon. Like, I'm super curious about that. I really am. But anyway, my little tangent on that to the side. We need to talk about what exactly happened with Natsu. Because we cut to him next. And we're actually just focused on him throughout the rest of the chapter. And like I said, currently, at this point in time, he's dealing with Brian. Not Brain, obviously. But Brain's been gone for like ages. But like one of the Fire and Flame members. Who's now like Dragonized, right? And he's like, rumbly tummy. Happy cries out, Natsu. Natsu says, I'm good. And Brian says, you can't beat a Dragonized wizard. And then Natsu just grins. He's like, wasn't turning into a dragon a real screw up? And he's like, huh? And Happy gets what Natsu's saying. He's like, dragon lungs breathe fire. Their scales melted. Their claws are wreathed in it. Ancient anti-dragon magic attack. That's what Dragon Slayer magic is. And he's like, yo, excuse me? Like, what? And Natsu doing what he does best. Purgatory slashing dragon fire. See what happens. He kind of gets knocked out. Natsu asks the important question. Natsu's not getting any Fs whatsoever. He says, where's Ignia? And Brian smirks. Like, like I'm gonna tell you. And as soon as he says that, he goes for Natsu's arm. Happy cries out Natsu. And Natsu, again, still says, I'm gonna beat Ignia and finish the 100 Years Quest. I ain't got time to waste on you. And again, this dude Brian, like, he bit. Not even bit. Like, he was he almost like bit like up to his forearm. Like up to like the wrist area of Natsu's hand. And Natsu's just like, no. You think that's gonna do me in? Think again. And you see what happens. Brian gets kind of knocked out. And he's like, whoa, his mouth. Like, how will he tell us where Nia is now? And Natsu's just like, shoot. Okay, I overdid it. But even then, Brian's still ain't giving up, and Natsu's kind of shocked by this, to a point where you see a drop of sweat falling from Natsu's face. And Brian says, "Whoa, he's tough. All those attacks of yours didn't take him down." Actually, that's Happy talking. And Natsu says, "He's got crazy stamina." And then this chick shows up. Okay, looks like you're struggling, Brainy or Bryony, and Happy's like, "Uh-oh, there's two of them," and Natsu's like, and it's Misfortune. It's like, Misfortune's here to help you outie. And obviously that gets Happy a little distracted, okay? Happy's like, "Oh, the fire cat." And she's like, "Happy." And Natsu just looks at Happy like, "Who's this?" And he's like, "Misfortune. Did she turn into a dragon too?" And Misfortune, she's like, "Yeah, look at my beautiful body. Like, don't I look exquisite?" Obviously, she doesn't say the exquisite part, but you can kind of tell based off like the way she's posing and everything. That is the vibe she's giving off, without a doubt. But yeah, see Natsu's reaction, see Brian's reaction, like they're kind of speechless. But Happy just says, "You look the same as before," and Misfortune's like, "What? Why? Fire! Boo! I can't turn into a dragon." But Happy again continues to say, "You look cute just the way you are." And you see Misfortune tearing up, and she's like, "Happy, but I'm a member of Fire and Flame." And I made a post about this after I read the chapter. I was like, "Happy, I know you have a thing for felines. There's nothing wrong with that, okay? You've been chasing after Carlos behind since freaking the Oration 6 arc in the original manga. We know that. Okay? You even have Toka chasing after you too. Now you have Misfortune. Like, bro, you can't keep falling for the same tricks. Like, come on. Like, Carla's now in a position where now she can fight alongside Wendy. And I've been saying this. Oh, actually, I haven't talked so much on it per se. But I'm going to speak my mind out. Happy, you gotta get priorities straight, man. You gotta. Like, this is no time to get distracted. It's a bit of a minor rant. Very minuscule, if I'm being honest. But is it funny? Yes. But Happy, come on. Now is not the time to get distracted. Really. Now is not the time. Because Misfortune says, "Brace yourself," and again, Happy's thrown off. Fire boo! And that takes Happy away. Naji screams Happy. And then this guy over here, Brian says, "Why'd you take your eyes off me?" And he's laying off his attacks. Natsu gets kind of surprised. This power is great. The power of dragonization. But that ain't phasing Natsu. Obviously not. Because Natsu still comes back in, beats the living shit out of Brian. Brian's teeth are like just like cracked open. And Natsu says, like he's smirking, okay? Natsu's smirking, he's glad, he's happy. He's like, "Oh good, you can still talk." And that's where we end up this chapter. 169 ends up right here. And look, I'm gonna talk about my one gripe with the chapter. And I say this more personally. I do wish, like, this stuff is cool. Don't get me wrong. This stuff is pretty cool. I like what we're seeing with the stuff with Natsu and Brian. That stuff was cool. Okay, the Happy and Misfortune stuff, like, while it is cute, it is funny. That I could have kind of done without. Okay, I'll be real. That's the one part about this where I'm like, okay, if you took out like those two things and instead dedicated more into like Lucy, Brandish, and Aquarius, and getting a little bit more as to like, okay, what's the connection between these two? If you got a little bit more on that, I would have been like, okay, cool. This is like a pure perfection chapter. And I say that in a little sense of like, yo, LuckyRave here is about to give a negative score. No, this is not a bad chapter, okay? This isn't even a meh chapter. Not even okay. All right? This chapter goes beyond good, goes beyond great. Okay? It's still, in my opinion, a great plus chapter. I thought about amazing. I really did. I was like, well, okay. Even though we didn't focus on a lot on the Lucy, Brandish, and Aquarius stuff, and obviously the connection that Aquarius and Mercphobia have, even though we didn't really dive a lot into that, because that's obviously being teased, I was like, well, the Natsu and Brian stuff, I am like, rocking with a lot. But I will admit, as cute as the Lucy, as cute, Lucy is cute. Make no mistake about that. Okay, she's my girl. But as cute as the happy and misfortune stuff was okay, as funny as it was kind of there. If I'm being real, like if we're talking actual plot progression, that's just there for the fun stuff of it, which is fine. But I would have rather sacrificed the couple pages dedicated to that, and instead just delve a little bit more into the stuff with Lucy, Brandish, and Aquarius, and of course that connection between Aquarius and Mercphobia. But like I said, the other upside to this, like not even upside, but the other thing to take into account, like I said early on in the stream, is that we're not done with Volume 19. Like we still got 170, which will be the penultimate chapter. 170 is going to be the penultimate chapter in this current volume, which is 19. And 171, that's going to be the chapter that concludes volume 19. So if I had to take a guess, either 170 or 171, one of those two chapters, we're going to delve more into that connection. Okay? And if anything, I could see it being a reverse where you get like, say, 20% of the chapter focused on like Natsu and Brian, okay? Just dealing with a little bit more of the aftermath stuff. And then the last like 80% of the chapter, of the next chapter, I should say, is revolved around what I've been talking about, the Lucy, Brandish, Mercphobia, and Aquarius connection. Like that's something that could happen too. I mean, it really all depends. It really, really does all depend. Now, I say this is volume 19 and that we're slowly closing up on that. Which kind of gets you thinking, like, how long does 100 Years Quest have? Because thinking about it like this, we're on 169. The next chapter that comes out will be 170. Okay? And there will be like at least another 30 chapters remaining before it reaches 200 mark. Now, do I think we could wrap everything up within 100 Years Quest in those 30 chapters? It's possible. Okay? I think there's a good possible chance we could do that. But I think it also depends on what hero has in store for us too, right? That's the other thing. Like, until we hear an announcement that 100 Years Quest is going to be coming to an end soon, I'm not going to say that we're going to be ending the manga anytime soon. I mean, is this giving off like final arc vibes? Definitely. But we can't confirm that yet. You know what I mean? Like, when it came to Fairy Tail, When Fairy Tail's final arc started with the Alvarez War, everybody knew. Everybody knew from that point on, this is going to be the ending of the Fairy Tail manga, was the Alvarez War. And likewise with Eden Zero, when it came to Eden Zero's final arc, when Universe Zero started, it was announced this will be the final chapter, the final saga of Eden Zero is Universe Zero. So until we get that announcement, which, if we're looking at it right now, this current arc in the manga is called the True Dragon King Festival arc. And technically speaking, like I said, Ignia is the final dragon god that needs to be taken care of. Okay? Because look, we already took care of the Water Dragon. We took care of Alderaan, Celine, Doggermog, Viernez. Okay? Now, in actuality, the Dragon Gods are back at full strength. And like I said with 168, it's not like Lucy single-handedly took out Mercphobia on her own. Now, that was a team cooperative effort between her and Brandish. Okay? So as far as Alderaan goes, as far as Celine goes, okay? As far as Viernus goes, yo, there is no way Gray Urza. No, I'm not gonna say anything. As far as Gray Urza goes, and especially Wendy, there is no chance in hell you're gonna have the other three members like being able to solo the other dragon gods at full strength. Definitely not. No, definitely not. Now, Natsu and Ignia is a different case altogether because as was stated in the Water Dragon God arc, Ignia says it's going to be you and me one on one. No helping hands, nothing like that. I want it to be you and me, mano y mano, 1v1. A true testament to see who is the son of Ignia. Who is the true fire dragon god. Not fire dragon god, but you know what I mean. The true son of Ignia. The one who embodies the essence of what a fire dragon is. You know? And I think that's going to say so much. I really do think that's going to say a lot when that fight does eventually happen. And like I said, given that we are 2 chapters away from wrapping up Volume 19, I mean, we are in an interesting position. We're in a super, super interesting position with 100 Years Quest. And even though we don't have a chapter coming out next week, we do still have the anime. And like I said, even though it's a recap episode, that's still something, you know? Maybe the recap episode could have like some bits of, like additional content. You never know. Recap episodes, they can be kind of fun sometimes too. I mean, it really depends. But, I mean, am I going to talk about the recap episode? Probably not, obviously. But I'll still check it out. And maybe I'll do a discussion video on it. Maybe. But at this point, I'm just rambling on. I'm really just kind of rambling on when it comes to the latest chapter. Again, overall rating, I'm going to give it a great plus. Again, the only gripes of the chapter, we should have gotten a little bit more stuff with Lucy and Brandish and Aquarius and that whole connection that she has to Mercphobia, obviously. And like I said, the only other thing is the happy and misfortune stuff. As funny as it is, as adorable as it can be, you can kind of do without it. And that's it. The rest of the chapter, everything else about the chapter, in my opinion, was great. And I do look forward to seeing what we get with chapter 170. Okay? I really do look forward to seeing what we get with chapter 170. And even given that, okay, like let's really take that into perspective. Chapter 170, okay, and 171 that'll wrap up volume 19. Given that, volume 20 will be, it should go up to chapter 180. So by that account, you would think, well, is it possible that from chapter 180, because by then there would only be like 20 chapters. That's assuming, and again, I'm saying that under the assumption that 100 Years Quest will end at the 200 chapter milestone. But here's the thing with Hiro Mashima, he doesn't end off his he doesn't end off his series as like a milestone number. Okay, like even looking at like Rave Master ended at like what chapter 297? No, not even 297, 296. 296 was the last chapter of Rave Master. Eden Zero, similar case. That ends off with chapter 293. Fairy Tail, the original manga, ends with chapter 545. So, if we're going to end off 100 Years Quest, I don't think it's going to be a milestone number. I really don't. Which is fine. I think that's totally fine. Not every series needs to cap off with like a milestone number, in my opinion. Like to me, it's like if a series ends, if you end off a series with this final chapter, it's that final chapter. That's just how it is. But anyway, moving that aside, like I said, you guys, that's pretty much all I gotta say when it comes to this live stream discussion / review for Fairy Tail 100 Years Quest, Chapter 169. Let me know what you guys' thoughts are on the chapter. What was your favorite part about it? Do you guys have any gripes with the chapter? And aside from that, guys, that's pretty much it. I'm LuckyRave. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more Fairy Tail content, Hiro Mashima content, and I will catch you guys on the flip side. Laters.